Good evening, friends. I'm Kelley Carter, the Home Fashion Director at Bloomingdale's. Thank you for joining us here at Bloomingdale's On Screen. We want to hear everything you have to say, any questions, any comments, so drop it all in the chat. We will be talking to you throughout. And also make sure you tune in through the end as we have an exclusive offer just for attending the event. Exciting. So we're streaming live from my own apartment in Brooklyn. And anyone who lives in the city or in like a small space knows the value of maximizing space and organization. So I'm so excited to Need It Now with the Neat Method, an incredible home organization brand that is now available on Bloomingdales.com and in select stores. So with us here tonight is Marissa Hagmeyer, co-founder and CMO, and Lisa Ruff, Director of Business Development for Neat Method. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Kelley. We are so
excited how are
to be here with you.
Thanks I'm excited for you guys to be here. Thank you for being here.
And we're excited to be in your kitchen too. This is extra exciting. And Lisa is also in her kitchen. So it's going to make it a really good live experience for everybody. I think it's going to be great. I too am coming to all of you from my home, actually in Denver, Colorado. And like Kelley, I recently moved to this home. So you can believe that there's been a lot of organizing and setting up that's taken place here to just make sure that we have the right systems in place, kind of in a brand new space. And it's a great time to really kind of rethink how you live and just if it's the most functional for your family and for your life and things like that. So I also would totally echo some of what we were talking about earlier, Kelley, which is just that we are spending a lot of time in our homes these days, a lot more time than any of us probably care to, but it really is a great time for us to be kind of looking at how we can maximize the space and just make sure that the way we're using it is effective and sustainable and just something that is kind of can help carry us for the long term. So we as Neat Method have actually been training organizers across the US and Canada for the past 10 years. And really what they've done is then go into thousands of homes and help transform those spaces. We like to say from chaos to composed and just make sure that they're functioning efficiently for our clients and to really just, we tried to build this brand in a way that would basically help clients just live a lifestyle that's much more relaxed because it's more organized, which is then where the products came in as well. We, part of our process, which we'll get into a little bit, but has to do with purchasing products and implementing them in your home, which is really the best way to kind of maintain that lifestyle. And so coming up with our own product line was an obvious next step for us. And we are so excited to be sharing it with everybody at Bloomingdale's now as well. So we heard though, Kelley, that we were going to start this by kind of giving you a little bit of help and then going into some more details on the rest of the tips for everyone else. Is that true?
Yes. So, okay. I just moved back from South Carolina to Brooklyn. And to be really honest, this is the largest apartment I've ever lived in. But in New York, you have to sacrifice something. So the name of my chapter of life right now, it's called Large Apartment, Tiny Drawer. And I have one tiny drawer in my kitchen, just one. And I have a huge apartment, one tiny drawer. So before I show you my mess, tell us a little more about what services you offer to help people like me live the neat lifestyle.
Okay, we can definitely start there. We've seen the one drawer situation before, so don't have any fear. We've kind of seen it all, to be honest, with our organizing services, everything from, like I said, we're in 80 plus locations across the US and Canada. So we've seen everything from rural to urban to small to huge. And really it's the bread and butter of what we do is our services. And kind of how it works is it's basically like a turnkey operation, we like to say. So we start with a consultation, of course, first, but then basically once we've kind of set up what needs to happen in a given day, we really kind of just come in like a band of forces. Like we bring a team, typically it's either 2 people or a lot of times more than that. And we just come in and basically really touch everything in the space. That's literally, you're going to hear about it in a little bit, but taking everything out, figuring out what's going on, what needs to stay, what needs to go. And then really kind of thinking through your lifestyle and how you function and what's not working well for you and other people that are in and out of your space, to make sure we're putting everything back in a way that is just going to make it easier for you to function on a day-to-day basis. So the turnkey aspect is that we then just take care of all of that. We actually do the organizing ourselves, take care of anything that is donation or some things we're going to toss. We take all of that out of your way. And then we always end with implementing a system of products that basically everything is labeled and in a home and in a spot. Like there should not be one item that comes into your home and you don't know where it belongs. So it just makes it something that you can kind of maintain and keep going after we've left. So we kind of come in magically and make it look perfect, but then give you a system that you can really maintain going forward. And another aspect of our organizing services is move, since you mentioned it, and I moved as well. And that really is a huge time for our business as well, because it is great to just kind of start with a blank canvas and be able to start fresh and create those systems. But we obviously do a large majority of our projects where it's in someone's house where they've already lived. And the advantage there is you kind of know what's working and what's not. And a fresh set of eyes helps us a ton. There's a lot of times that we will see something and say, you know, this is really how I think we should rethink the space. And people are like, oh my gosh, I've just been living with it this way so long that you kind of can't even see that other side of your own life, you know, and how it could be better. Right. So that's a little bit about our services. And you can check out our locations page. I see some people asking, but we do have locations everywhere, and we are always open for travel too. Like somebody asked if we're in Hawaii, and we are not, but we do travel quite often.
Great. Well, that's amazing to hear. And I certainly can use your expertise on these drawers, but I'm curious to hear from my audience, how organized do you keep your kitchen cabinets and drawers? Like, are you neat and tidy, or are you send help? I don't know what you think about me, but I'm just going to show you in a minute.
Let's see it.
Are we ready?
Let's see it, Kelley. Show us your drawer.
Ready? Okay. All right, guys. One drawer in my entire kitchen. Here it is. So,
okay. No. Yeah, go ahead.
That's nothing.
In this drawer, we have like all of my flatware. We have some serving pieces. We have like random spoons, peeler, this like apple core, because people need this. Obviously a bottle opener, because everyone needs that. Oh, look at this nutcracker, elegant. Because I'm cracking nuts all the time. Oh, and cheese knives. So help me. Oh, and a bottle stopper. Please help me.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions like we start with all of our clients. How do you want to use that drawer?
So I do want, I just really want it to be like I don't know, I want to use it how can I use this drawer that makes it like multi-purpose?
I mean, I think
Is that too ambitious for this tiny drawer, guys?
No.
Just the flatware?
It's a little ambitious, but not too ambitious. I think for you, the simplest thing, because you only have the one drawer, it is fairly narrow. And I feel like it would work for you because you just moved in there rather than to have a very like specific set system in there, to do something like our spring-loaded drawer dividers like this. And maybe with the width, you might be able to do 2, and that would give you like 3 individual slots. And then you could dedicate those 3 slots to certain things. Like one could be flatware, one could be like specialty. Like you said, I think you said you had like cheese knives and maybe a wine opener. One could be like kind of like an entertaining slot. And then you'd have a third one. And then we advocate for getting stuff off the counters, but because you do only have that one drawer, I can't really see it, but you could have like a ceramic like vase or something with all of your like cooking utensils, your spatulas and things on the other side next to your stove. But I think that might be like the simplest. Sometimes the simplest answer is usually the best when we don't have a ton of space.
I think that's a great idea.
The other thing too, I think, is like asking yourself how often you're entertaining. You know, a lot of times our clients will be like, oh, I have all these pretty, dishes and
Serving.
serveware and trays. And we're like, and how often do you entertain? And they're like, yeah, never. I'm like, okay, so then maybe what we could do is you could take a few of those items out and put them more in a basket that's higher up. So when it's time to entertain, you're pulling it down. You can quickly see everything that you have, but you're not dealing with the nutcracker, while you're trying to just make yourself dinner,
Right.
So that's another
Because I
thing.
need the nutcracker like all the time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I
That's
don't
been
know.
there.
Some people do, maybe. But my guess is it's probably been in there since like Christmas of last year.
Yes,
maybe?
yeah, Christmas.
Yeah.
Because I moved back around Christmas. But I love the idea of the drawer dividers, like having two and dividing it by like entertaining and like specialty and flatware. I do entertain a lot. Obviously, I'm not doing that now, but I do plan to entertain a ton, guys. So stay tuned and check out my Instagram. You'll see.
That's the next one. The next video, right? How to entertain.
Right.
Well, the other thing about those drawer dividers too is it would really help some of those items kind of stack up. So you actually would fit more in there, And even though it's like, oh, okay, we're just piling more in there. It's like, but at least it's in a section. So you're not like digging through the back and maybe cutting yourself on a knife or something like that as you're like looking for one particular item.
No,
if you want to get
so
really crazy like us, you could even label each of those sections in case anyone else is in there and might not put it away the right way.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Maybe I will do that because I will be entertaining and, this is a self-serve household. So,
yeah.
But thank you so much. This is going to be a game changer for me. And I have a ton of homework to do this weekend. Maybe we'll see. We'll check in with me in 2 weeks, maybe. And maybe I'll even tackle other areas of my home. Like I love seeing like a nice and organized space. I actually used to be like an organizing editor. Don't tell anyone. But I am curious here for my viewers, like if you were offered an organization makeover for one space in your home, what area would you choose? Your kitchen or your closet?
We'll see if it aligns with what our most requested space. Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what your most requested space is. Okay, so closet. They would choose the closet, and it's not like too far off because a lot will choose kitchen too. So everyone's saying both basically. So closet.
So we actually get kitchen most often. The closet is a close second. We get kitchen the most often, which is why we created our kitchen line first. But there might be some closet things in the works down the road too. But kitchen and, I think kitchen, especially like pre-COVID, was just a space that like a lot of us were spending a lot of time. And when you are entertaining, that is where you are. And then closet, now probably all of us are just like, I wish my closet had a need for me to be in and out of it more frequently. So that might be part of the times.
Yes. No, I think people tend to hang out in the kitchen so much. So they pay so much attention to the kitchen, but like everyone wants to go into the closet and take out like a cute outfit to go somewhere, maybe.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. So are you guys, go ahead.
Oh, so now I'm going to turn it over to you, Lisa, and teach us how to improve the overall functionality and aesthetic of our home spaces.
Thank you, Kelley. Okay, guys, I'm going to take you through Neat's method. And this is a method right now because our kitchen products have just launched at Bloomingdale's. We're going to use the kitchen as an example for this, but what we like to say is that our method works on any space in your home. So the steps I'm going to go through right now with you can apply this to your bathroom, your garage, your closet, anywhere, and you will get equally like amazing results. And then you are
going to get this in a lookbook too, some of the notes. So don't feel like you have to be like really quickly scribbling all this down.
Don't furiously scribble.
great.
Pay attention. Enjoy the moment right now. And then what Kelley said earlier, I think Marissa, ask any questions in the chat box, and Marissa will answer them, or I'll answer them as we go. Okay. So let's get started. What we like I said, we're going to use the kitchen right now. What we like to do first is, I don't know if you guys are Paddington the Bear fans, but we like to go into a space.
I love Paddington.
Good. Okay. So you're going to get this reference then. Sometimes I feel like my references maybe fall flat. You're going to go into whatever space, maybe your closet, your kitchen, pantry, clean it out completely. Go back to deepest, darkest Peru, get everything out. All those skeletons have to come out of that closet. This is the first step in organizing. Everything comes out. And then what we like to do is we like to combine the first and second step, collapse them together a little bit to make things go a little faster. And as you're pulling all those, every skeleton coming out, everything's coming out, try be kind of thoughtful in the groupings that you're putting them in. Sort as you go. To a certain extent, you're categorizing. So if you're pulling something out, this kitchen we're talking about, and you see an expiration date, it's expired, that's going to go over into the compost section. If you pull something out and you're like, oh, my family did not like this, but I can still donate it, let's start a donate pile, and just keep going as you go, so that when you turn around, it doesn't look like your kitchen exploded, although it probably will to a certain extent. But that's what you want to do, start pulling it out. And then as you have this, let's say your pantry, empty cabinet, what you want to do is just give it a quick wipe down, just because when was the last time that you were in there, it was empty. It's so fast to wipe it down. Once it's empty, vacuum it out. And then once you're done, once it's emptied, once you have everything out, and you've sorted it into piles to a certain extent, this is now my favorite step. And what you're going to start doing is editing. That's what we like to use. We like to use the nice term edit, or you could say purge. And what we like to do is go through everything. And I think like a first really good step is to consider everything and say, does this actually belong in the kitchen? Or does this actually belong in my clothing closet? I have children. I don't know if any of you guys have kids, but like trinkety pieces of toys end up in the kitchen, and you're like, why is this here? I had a client who, her youngest child was in 3rd grade. She had a breast pump in the kitchen. Doesn't really make sense in the kitchen. We're not milking cows. Everything comes in a bottle nowadays. So that's the first thing you want to do is consider, does it even make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, you push it to the side. And when I'm done, it goes into another space. We also like to look at what makes sense to donate. Things, like I said, you don't use, like waffles. You haven't made waffles since the 1990s, it goes. Things that might be like, again, if you have children, all those like popsicle, for adults too, you have the popsicle, like homemade popsicle makers with all those parts, and maybe you lost like the sticks or the covers, or maybe you really got into like artisanal like ice cubes for your whiskey, but you never really like went with it, and you have all those pieces to make the giant balls, but you don't want to do that anymore. Ice cubes, it goes. You donate it if you have everything. You recycle if you only have certain parts. You can give it away to family members. And then once you have those groupings, you hopefully are down to what you actually use. And what we like to do is look at, what do you have multiples of? Like, do you have 4 ice cream scoops? Do you have 3 wine bottle openers? I mean, maybe with the year we've had, it's good to have that extra wine bottle.
I think you always need a backup, and a backup to the backup.
I 100% agree with you on that, but there are certain things like ice cream scoops you don't need 4, and everything, all the anecdotal things I'm telling you, true stories that we've seen in people's homes.
Oh, I know.
Really consider.
I thought you saw in my freezer about those ice cubes. I'm like, are you talking to me?
No. But you have them in your freezer, so you're using them. So if you're using them, that's great. But if you're not using it, if it was like an aspirational purchase, let it go. Make like Elsa, just like let it go out of the kitchen to free up space. So anyways, what you want to do is get all the multiples out, everything that's broken, not working, get all that out. And then the next idea is, and that's what we were talking about, is we also encourage like recycling as much as possible. We love like e-waste. You can do e-waste. You can recycle if you're in your garage, paint, all like the cleaners can get recycled rather than going down the sink. And then trash is the last resort if possible. Then next, what you want to do is, what we think this is a really important part of the system is, or the organizational method is, create your system. Really sit down and think about, how do you want to use the space? Like Marissa was asking Kelley earlier, are you entertaining right now? Do you like to entertain? Is that what you do? Is that an aspirational thing, or is that something you're actually doing? Because if there are things that you're actually doing, like you do make smoothies every morning for breakfast, we want to create space in the kitchen for that. And then once you've kind of figured out what your lifestyle is, what maybe changes you want to make to your kitchen, maybe you do want to be food prepping on Sundays, or maybe you want to encourage your children to be more independent in the kitchen and get their own snacks. So we're going to lower snacks down to their level. Once you do that, we want to create zones in your kitchen. And by the zones usually typically have like multiple categories in them. And again, you're talking about when we're creating the zones, we want to look at your lifestyle and how you actually use your home. There are some really typical zones that every kitchen has. Like we were talking with Kelley about her cutlery. Everyone has cutlery in the kitchen. That makes sense. But I'll give you an example from like my bathroom. I have 2 little girls, and when they're teeny tiny, when we're still helping them a lot at bath time, I decided bedtime was just like crazy. And so I decided to put their pajamas in their bathroom, because it just made that whole transition from like bathing, teeth, all of that to bed so much smoother. And for us, that made sense to have pajamas in the bathroom, but that's not where everyone puts pajamas.
I love
that's very smart.
I love that example. It's like such a way of thinking outside the box, but being like, okay, this is taking way too long in my day and frustrating me. Like, what do I need to do about that? I feel like you also have a good example of that with the smoothie zone. Your breakfast zone.
Well, no, I like with the kitchen. Well, something I was going to show. So like our breakfast, if you see like all these like cereal, our breakfast is here, and I was going to show you this. But I have oats, and I'm kind of like a weirdo, and I like to measure it out. My husband's like, whatever. And so I actually took our measuring cups are over in our like baking zone, but I took the half cup out because I use half cup of oats, and a cup of water, and I put it next to my oat canister over my breakfast, because I was constantly like, I know it sounds so silly. You're like, an extra 5 feet, really? That's really ruining your day. Like, well, kind of in the morning, like it adds up. If you're able to cut out like several 6, 7, 8 steps, all of a sudden you've got like 5-10 minutes, and your morning is just less stressful. You've introduced ease into your morning routine. And this is something we have to do every single day. So why don't we just, if we can make little tweaks here and there to make it easier, why not do that? So I have a half cup.
I just thought of what it was that you were saying about your smoothie zone, where you were like saying that you, at the same time, he's in charge of breakfast and you're in charge of unloading the dishwasher. And you were that means that it has to like live on opposite sides, because otherwise it's all 4 of us like over top of each other in the morning. So like paying attention to those little things too. Like when I think you're going to talk about this too, but like one thing we really think about when we go into a client's home is just like, okay, where are the appliances? Because wherever the appliances are, that's where you're spending the most of your time, right? And like where you need to be the most efficient. You need like glassware near the fridge, if that's where you're filling it up. You need all of your everyday items like plates and your cutlery and things like that really close to the dishwasher. Because if you are walking across the kitchen to go and bring plates all the time, I mean, it adds up. It does. And you're tripping over a toy that was left in the way, or a husband who's making breakfast or whatever. And it's those little things that can like change how your day starts. Basically.
Exactly. Like what Marissa's saying.
That's very true.
One of the first things we do with clients who are moving in is we walk into a kitchen and open the dishwasher and just stand there with the dishwasher open. Like, okay, which side of the dishwasher do you want to stand on to empty it? And if you're standing there, what can you reach while you're standing here? Because if your home has been like my home the past year, we've been running our dishwasher almost twice a day. I have 4 people in the home, and we're just constantly going through the dishes. And to have, like, I've had clients where they open up the dishwasher. I'm like, okay, where do your dishes go? This drawer that I can't open right now that the dishwasher is open. I'm like, does that drive you insane though? To have to like, I mean, no one enjoys emptying the dishwasher, but then on top of that, to be so frustrated because you can't access what you need. So that's something to consider, is open the dishwasher, stand there and be like, can I open every drawer or cabinet that I need to open it in order to properly get this emptied and get it emptied quickly without being frustrated? So the same thing with that. Like, go ahead.
That's up. We have some questions from the audience, actually. Do you have any tips for paper organization?
For the office? Does it say that?
For home office, yes.
For home office. So what we like to say is less than more, less is more. So I would go online. We usually go by like what the IRS says about like keeping your tax documents, how long you should keep them for. And there are a lot of like apps where you can take pictures of receipts and then store them on your phone. And we just encourage getting rid of as much paper as possible. and trying to, something I'll talk about in a little bit about boundaries. The whole point, create a boundary for yourself. And once you're like growing out of that boundary, then you need to reconsider, am I holding on to too much? Do we need to like, is it time to edit down, shred, and recycle? So I would
like a
really we
physical
say-
boundary, like a
like
like a
hanging
container,
file holder,
like a
Boundaries.
basket,
like a
something,
container.
a product you could buy from Need on Bloomingdale's, one of those things.
And then to
Oh,
keep the
yes,
food boundary.
by boundaries.
By boundaries.
We
That's what
also
I'm talking
say,
about.
we also say truly with drawers, it's kind of like for a family of, Lisa and I both have a family of 4, and like all of my files are in one drawer that I need.
Mhm,
That is
mine
it.
too.
Like, so like we've gone into clients' homes before where they've got the whole huge thing, and we're like, unless you've got tons of business files here that you have to keep for 7+ years, you've got too much. You haven't purged it in a while. And right now is actually a great time to purge your files too, because obviously all the tax stuff is due and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's a great time to kind of go through. I actually just did it in my own. And I mean, it was embarrassing, to be honest, how much I even had accumulated, and I am like the first to throw something away. So, I feel like just also getting into like a regular habit with that paperwork is a really important part.
Getting
That's
into a
important.
system.
So what label maker do you recommend, and how do you feel about labels when organizing? Are they trendy or functional? I can't decide if it's worth the work. This comes from one of our friends in the audience.
Okay, you're getting ahead of us. Labels. So there's I love, so if you have horrible writing, I either love the Neat Method pantry labels, love those that are pre-printed, or
Very
Touch
cute.
has I love them. They're actually one of our organizers. We made a font out of her handwriting because she has such gorgeous handwriting.
Oh, I love that.
If it's for like a garage or something like that, you could do a P-Touch. We love P-Touch. And labeling is kind of funny. It's very much a personal preference. I'll just give you like my significant other. He does not like labels. He makes him nervous to get too many labels. Like he's just like, I see all these words and I just like start to get nervous. I think labeling is good to a certain extent, because then what I like to say is it subtly shames the people in your household into putting things back where they belong. Because if there's no label, they'll just shove it anywhere. But if they see that it says pens there and they're holding a pen, they'll be like, I guess I have to put it there. And so they make that extra effort.
It is
So
Written shame. Okay.
It is
Little
very
shame.
true. It is very hard
love
to
it.
like blatantly put something back somewhere that says something else. And I've had the same experience in my house as well. And I think like the biggest thing with labels that we should say is that there is a world where you over label, in that maybe that's not like everything being labeled, because some spices in my home definitely have that. So I'm not going to say that that's bad, but like over categorizing, like you can definitely create too small of categories, and that we would call over labeling, where it's like there's not enough to live in there, or you're making it too hard. Like here, an example from like my playroom I can think of is like, it's called dolls. Like that literally means Barbies, dolls, doll accessories, like it's all the doll things. It's not like, and then you put the accessories here and the dolls here and the Barbies here. Because,
and then the brats here or whatever.
Yeah. My kids are too young. They wouldn't keep up with that. And we don't have enough that is even a need right now. So like really thinking through that too, and making sure that it's not just like overdone, and that cleanup isn't easy. Like Lisa's going to kind of get into this in terms of kitchen zones, but like when you are, if you're baking, you should be able to pull a basket down that says baking, that's got all the baking on it, but it's not like segmented further than that, unless you really love to bake and you do have all the specialty flours and all the specialty sugars and things like that. Otherwise, even if it's 2 baskets that say baking, that's better than like having too many labels and over categorizing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. We have another question from the audience. What if you like paper goods, like paper plates, cups, etc.? Like, how do you handle that? How do you organize it? How do you deal?
So I think like this goes straight to what Marissa just said, is that you want one basket, you want one bin, and you can put disposable on it. You can say paper products, and then everything lives in there. And then it can go, what I'm going to talk that's great question, Kelley, because I'm about to talk about that right now. Let's talk about zones. Okay, I'm going to answer that question in just a second. So we talked about zones, how you could have like baking prep, dinner prep, snacks, breakfast, things like that. Those are kind of like typical zones that people might have in their kitchen and pantry. And then once you figure out what your zones are, you want to talk about placement. And we always talk about placement based on frequency of use. We love to say like prime real estate. So prime real estate is like right here, what you see. It's like that shelf that's right at eye level. It's that drawer that's the easiest to grasp. And I always like to say that, I feel like one of you guys kind of talked about this already, like your elbow is like how much you like extend your elbows in like direct correlation with how infrequently you use something. So with something like your flatware, you want to not even have to like move your elbow at all. It's magically right there. For something like a birthday cake plate or Christmas, a holiday item, that elbow, you want it to be straight, and that's how you reach it. It should be that far away up here, or it should be that far away down there. So I always like think about that. Okay. If you're reaching up for something like this every single day, you're going too far. It needs to be like prime real estate. So with the paper products, it kind of depends on how you use them. It depends on your lifestyle. Do you have, like, are you using it every day for like a certain meal or something like that? Then it should be like in a basket somewhere like at around eye level. But if it's something you're only using like on weekends, or if you're doing like distanced picnics outside the park with friends still, then it should be like lower, further away, because you don't need to access that every day. So that's like, but that's what we love for disposable stuff. We put it in one, and that's all you get. Because I feel like sometimes people go to Costco and you'll buy so many things. All of a sudden you have like a million different not paper towels, but like napkins and like cutlery and like cups and things like that. One basket and you're good. Someone asked about oversized, larger utensils if you don't have the drawer space and they don't like them out because they get dusty. Another thing that we do that, again, this applies to any space in your home, is I always say like create a drawer. And how you create a drawer is you have a shelf and you buy a basket. And then you're basically kind of like creating a drawer there. So what I would say is what you'd want to do is create, and I wouldn't have an eyeline shelf, because that's probably where your plates or glasses are going, maybe like the shelf up, and put a basket that fits like perfectly in there to take up all the space. And then put all those like the whisks, the spatulas, all those types of things in there. And then while you're cooking, you just pull that basket down, put it on the countertop, do your cooking, everything gets clean, put back in the basket, and it goes back up. So kind of like fake a drawer. We do that a lot in closets for people who don't have a space for dressers. So like fake like an underwear drawer, put it all in a basket and put it on a shelf. So.
That's so clever. I love the idea of creating a drawer. And what I do like about it not being an actual drawer, you can like take it somewhere. It's like mobile.
Yeah. It's awesome. And that's like what Marissa was saying, like one thing I do is, for me, we don't bake all the time. So my baking basket, like of like my baking soda, baking powder, all that kind of stuff is in a basket, and it's up high. And I love it putting baskets up high as long as it's not too heavy, because there's no like deepest, darkest Peru. Like with a basket, I'm lazy. I don't have to get a footstool. I just like pull it out and bring it down. And I've utilized that entire shelf without having to climb up and see what's back in there. And because it's baking, I don't use it that often. It's up high. It's not something that it doesn't like irritate me to have to like go and grab for it. It's usually like the weekend or something like that. So what we've talked about like placement of zones, and we're getting really into product right now, which is the next thing to talk about. And we mentioned earlier was create boundaries. And we love to create, we call them boundaries for two different reasons. One reason is it just helps keep your categories separated. It just helps like create some creates visual organization and literal or functional organization, because it keeps things separated so they aren't mixing together. And then it also, in the kitchen, definitely, and I think in the closet too, clothing closets, is it helps you with not overbuying. Because like I was saying before, with paperwork, you have like, I know you're not buying paperwork, but if you have like one basket or one container, and let's say swimsuits, and this is your swimsuits, but all of a sudden your swimsuits are starting to like spill out. Do you need that many swimsuits? Like what's going on? Do you need to like resort to a one in, one out kind of method? And so it's the same thing with food. Is if you have like, I don't know, if you have children, if you have a lot of people in your house and you have lots of snacks, like, do you need all those snacks? Have one bin. That bin's going to last you however long you grocery shop. I know some people live in more rural areas, so they're grocery shopping less often. I live in a city, so I can go like every day if I wanted to. It's just like a couple blocks away, but kind of depends on the frequency of how often of you shopping. But create like a container, and that's as much as you can have at one time. And
what I love about that, what I love about having a container or a bin for your grocery categories and things like that, is that if you then end up at the grocery store one day and you
Mhm.
forgot the list, or you didn't like really think through the list, but you're like, I know I need, or maybe you have a list, but you're like, oh, look at that bag of chips. That looks so delicious. Like, you might not know exactly what's in that basket, but what you do know is if it's full or not, because you
Mhm.
can visualize the
Oh,
last
that's
time you were in
true.
your pantry that morning and you're like for right now, I know my snack bin is full. But if I was at the grocery store, I for sure would be like, yeah, maybe I should try this, this, and this. But I'm literally like bound to like, I wouldn't even ever want to put it right now. So, and the good news about that is obviously the health benefits and things like that. But it's also like, you don't then buy stuff that you never end up eating because it just gets shoved to the back and you forget about it. You know what I mean? So there's
Right.
multiple uses for boundaries, I feel like, in
Also,
our
I
more
love this idea
anecdotes.
of boundaries.
I,
I also like the idea of like using neat method labels in my home. I like to be able to purchase physical boundaries.
yeah.
I think it instantly makes the space feel more organized, and I love like knowing where like everything lives and that it has a space of its own. So how do you deal with touch-ups? How do you like
Oh,
maintain these?
okay. Just let me do one more thing before we get to touch up. So
Sure.
if that's okay. So like kind of what Kelley just said is like having things be beautiful. We believe that things can be very functional and very aesthetically beautiful. Like I want I hope that in your home, once you get organized, you can open up a cabinet and the design, the feel of your home goes from the walls through your cabinet and back. Like it should be all beautiful. So if you're starting to get organized and you're thinking about buying product to help complement the system that you created, go on Instagram, go on Pinterest, get ideas. Or do you like plastic in your home because you have small children and you don't want broken glass? Or are you like no plastic at all I want is glass? Think about these things before you go out and buy product. And then what you want to do is you want to measure, and you say like measure twice, cut once, measure 3 times, then pull the trigger on buying it. And when you're measuring, always remember hardware in even bathroom, kitchen, even the closet, like a dresser. If you're doing drawers, open it up, look inside, see if your hardware, the handles, there's hardware on the back that's taking up space that maybe you have to be thoughtful of when purchasing products for inside. Just like a quick tip. And then we always say, create a shopping list and stick with it. Don't overbuy. It's almost like when you're baking and they're like, don't overdo it. You can always add when buying product, when you're organizing, buy some, love it, buy some more, keep going, but then stop right before you become, it's the pitfall that Marissa was talking about, how you over organize and over categorize. And then you have this system that you can't maintain. And so that kind of goes with.
I'm going to add to that real quickly. Sorry to interrupt, but one thing I'm thinking about with like your list and just what Bloomingdale's has to offer and things like that is the pantry label set. Actually, also, whether it's like you've bought them already or you're looking at them while you're doing the organizing, it provides a really good idea list of like how you could organize and some of the categories you might need. And that'll help you count out to like, okay, so if I were to do that, if I were to do a baking basket and a salty snack basket, because you're seeing all these pre-written words, then you can kind of figure out the count of your baskets and where those would roughly live. And then like Lisa said, like you cannot look at door hardware enough. We see it all the time where people are like, we get to their house and they're like, I bought all this stuff, but it doesn't fit. We're like, you didn't measure right. We know. So measure, and really just make sure that what you're getting is going to work. But I think those are like the pantry label set just came to me because sometimes that can be a great way to start too, just to be like, give me a little bit here. I need a few ideas.
Guidelines, some
Yeah,
guidance.
I love that.
on how
It's
to
like
go.
a cheat sheet. Like you don't have to
Exactly.
think
Yes.
too much about what you're organizing. It gives you a guide of what to organize. I love that.
Exactly.
Roadmap.
You're not going to need like every single one, but that's the best part is then it kind of gives you room to like grow and change, and they're all removable. You can like reposition them is like our best feature of it. So, you know, if you like put quinoa on there and then you decide you're a hard no on quinoa, it's really easy to take it off and put another label on later. So sorry, Lise, back to.
Oh, no, it's awesome. It's all gems, all gems. I love it. Okay, so what we've done is we have pulled everything out, cleaned off the, let's say the shelves, sorted or categorized. We've edited down to what you actually use, figured out where our zones are, placed them based on frequency of use, measured, bought product that creates boundaries so you don't overbuy, but also keeps things separated. And then you've labeled, we were just talking about labels. You've decided like have found that happy place with labeling, not too much, but just enough, or maybe you love too much. be too much. That's you be you right now. The next thing is like you're one and done. You're done, right? It's over. You can just sit back and it's Martha Stewart looking for like the rest of your life. And that's not the case. Organizing is just like exercising where I would love it if I went running once and I was just set for life, but that's not the case. So what happens with organizing, just like in life, you have a busy day, pandemic comes, you go on vacation, hopefully one day again, and things become a little undone. So what you need to do is you need to go in and we like to say touch up, literally like touch up just a little bit. If you have implemented a system that works for you and your lifestyle, it should only take a couple of minutes. Like for me, we get groceries, like big groceries once a week. And so I go through my refrigerator and just like make sure everything is where it is. I go through like snacks and things like that and just a couple of minutes and touch it. And the system is back to where it is. If you feel like you're like spending so much time trying to maintain this system and you're getting really disappointed and frustrated, what I would say is your system is you're over organized, you're over categorizing. Look, like what Marissa said, and you're to a step beyond what you should be right now. Everyone,
it should add like 5 minutes to your unpack of groceries. I do it too as soon as the groceries get here, or even like a little bit before when you're making your list, just kind of like going through and making sure there's even cereal in the box and it's not just sitting there.
So like 5 minutes, like weekly, or 5 minutes
whenever you're grocery shopping. Whenever you're grocery shopping.
So it's just like what Marissa said about the paperwork. Create like a system that works for you. For me, I have this basket and it's for filing and it has my kids' artwork in it and bills and things like that. And once that basket fills up, then I sit down with it because I dislike dealing with paperwork. I'm lazy. I wait till it fills up and then I'm like, it's just big enough so that I can manage it and I sit down and I can work through it and not like want to pull my hair out. So, I mean, if you like feel like you have to be on top of things, maybe it's an everyday touch up. Maybe you're going around quickly in your home and like literally just, it's like the last thing you do before you get into bed, just touching things. Or maybe like, I hate doing that. It's a Sunday thing for me, puts me in the, like gets me into the mindset. The week is about to start. I feel like ready. I feel calm. I have ease in my home. It really depends on like what works for you. And then like maybe like once or twice a year, do a huge like reorg of like your kitchen. Maybe like we always say like maybe like in January, I know January, everyone's like new year, new me, but it is good because it's after the holidays, or like maybe if you want to wait until after winter, because everyone's like done like cozying in and they're ready to be out, maybe do it then. But just like figure out what works best for you and stick with it. But it should be fairly fast if you've done it correctly and if you have a good system for yourself.
That's a great tip because like 5 minutes weekly could save you like an entire weekend in like 2 months. So that's a really good tip. We have some questions from the audience. The first one is, heavy countertop appliances like Vitamix and Instapot, KitchenAid mixer, toaster. You have a lot of appliances. How do you not make them look cluttered if you use them often?
Okay, so that was what I was going to say. For me, if you can see, my Vitamix and my toaster are both right here because they get used every single day. But then I have this is kind of like quote unquote my pantry right here, and it's fairly deep. And so the back of it is all the plug-in appliances that I don't use every single day. And in front of it, I have a basket with a category in it. So I can still access that plug-in appliance it's super easy. I pull the basket out, I can get the appliance. But these right here on my counter, those are the two every single day. Like my 6-year-old is making toast all day long because she's still distance learning. So it's only stuff that's being used every day. Everything else is going into a cabinet as much as possible.
Well, that's one rule I already follow because I have my Nespresso, which I use every single day. And then I have my Balmuda toaster. Do you see that? And my Arc. Use those every day. But then I have my Vitamix underneath in my cabinet because I plan to drink a smoothie every day, but that doesn't work out. So
yeah, maybe that's what I need to do. I'm a like put all the appliances away, but we definitely don't use them every day. So I totally agree with Lisa. And that's like the same for your bathroom. Like all these tips apply everywhere, where it's like if you have like tons of products sitting out and you're not using it every day, it really doesn't need to be there. It really could be kind of living away in a cabinet. And one of the first things we place in terms of appliances when we're at a client's house actually is the large appliances, because those aren't everyday use. And usually there's only 1 or 2 cabinets that'll work for, because they're large.
Right.
So, that can sometimes, after you've taken everything out and are ready to kind of get back in to the space, like decide on those things, and pots and pans, and then all of your kind of everyday things, because those are the things, like the appliances really only have 1 or 2 spots to go usually. And you can break it up too into like small appliances. Like I have really small things actually in a basket, just because it keeps them together, and then my large appliances somewhere else. So
I'll get just 2 quick questions I can like knock out in the chat. One is about the KitchenAid. I have one of those KitchenAids, a giant one, and it's in a lower cabinet, and I took a shelf out to accommodate the KitchenAid and to accommodate our griddle, because we do use the griddle a lot on the weekends for pancakes, and it's tall and I didn't have anywhere else to put it. So I just took a shelf out of a cabinet and put like the 2 biggest appliances are in there. So that's something to think about. I feel like people get kind of nervous to like readjust shelves.
Yeah.
Always adjust your, that's one of the first things we do is
we do it
move
like
shelves.
literally.
I always do that too.
They're like, oh my gosh,
don't be nervous.
Moves. So you're like, yes, all those pegs, those are there for a reason. So that's
someone
really good one.
To see a basket. Sorry, the light is like crazy.
I love that basket.
This is one of our baskets that's at Bloomingdale's right now. And this, I'll geek out on you showing my favorite parts of this basket. Let's see. Of course, the light is like really bad right now. So this is, I'm going to show, this is our label holder, and it's magnetic. And then on it has one of our removable labels that says sweet treat. So this literally, like my children, every day after dinner, this is where they are. You're seeing like it's MTV Cribs. You're seeing where the magic happens right here. This is where the sweet treats are. And my kids right now, it's all like Valentine's themed. Soon it'll have Easter candy in it, but this is one of our baskets. I love it. It has the wire power coated metal, and that has the acacia bottom so that things don't fall through. And like there's jars in here, they stay upright. So this is the,
it just makes it a lot more aesthetically
medium
pleasing and elevated, and not like so industrial looking.
It's super chic.
But you can also take it out too if you like the more industrial look that works in your space.
Great. So lots of gems have been dropped. Do you have one more question you want to answer quickly,
I know
Lisa?
you've been looking in the Q&A, right? I've been looking at the chat. Is there more? We want to pull out more in the Q&A as I try and like find a spot where it's not.
Do we have any questions? One more?
Let me look at the Q&A.
Okay.
Oh,
one more.
So here's a couple. Sorry, there's tons in the Q&A, not in the chat. How do you not feel overwhelmed when the sink is always full? Do you empty the dishwasher right away? Thanks. So one thing that we started doing, and this is like, again, a personal system because of COVID, and we have 4 people home all the time right now, is that, and this is like, it makes me kind of cringe saying this, but it's what's worked for our family, is in the morning, at night, we start at the night, reset is at night, the sink is completely empty. Everything, either the dishwasher is started or the dishwasher is empty. And in the morning, the sink just fills up. And I cringe saying this out loud that people know this, but I just like, I need to be able to work as much as I can with the kids home. And so it just fills up, in that dinner time, it gets emptied out and everything gets put away. But typically I like to have an empty sink. There was this person on the Today Show, a woman like decades ago, and she was like, the secret to having a neat house is to have your sink empty. And I was like, I love that. So every day I would make sure my sink was empty. Typically I say sink is empty, but right now it's just not feasible for like our life and how we're working. And then how do you organize baby bibs, plates, bottles? So I think like a great way to organize them is we have the small grid. It's like a kind of like a long skinny rectangle. And those are great for bibs. Buy like 4 of them to go all the way across your cabinet. And then 1 can be plates, 1 can be bottles, and 1 can be bibs. And that's how I did it for both my kids. And then once they grew up, pro tip is I turned those into kids' snack baskets. So when they were babies, they held all the parts, and then as they grew, they held like sippy cups, and then they held pouches, and now they hold like crackers and bars and things like that.
We also have a perforated basket that can be good for that kind of stuff.
Got the divider.
Yeah, it has a divider that you can take in and out, which will just help with shifting when things are kind of moving in and out as well.
Thank you all for the great questions. We got so many questions, but thank you all so much. Thank you for being engaged. The ladies got to as many as they could. They dropped many gems. So thank you so much, Marissa and Lisa. I can't tell you how helpful this was. I can't wait to shop your products on bloomingdales.com. I'm super excited about organizing. And for those of you who tuned in today, we have an exclusive offer for you. Enjoy 10% Neat Method products now through March 23rd when you use the code NEATMethod10 at checkout. For those of you who are inspired to, keep an eye out for our post-event email, including a shoppable lookbook with tonight's featured products. There will also be more tips and tricks to help you need it now. And thank you for joining us again, Bloomingdale's On Screen. Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll be showing up at your house to see if you organize. Just kidding.